UFC 265, ESPN Pay-Per-View Plus this weekend. And for more on that, we welcome in a good friend of the show, Brett Okamoto, who covers mixed martial arts for ESPN. Brett, we always appreciate the time. Let's start with this. The main event Saturday night features a heavyweight showdown between the undefeated Ciryl Gane and the 25-7 Derrick Lewis. Gane is a massive -360 favorite despite making his MMA debut less than 3 years ago. How fast of a rise is this for a fighter like Gane, who is now already contending for a title?
Oh, it's meteoric. I mean, in that heavyweight division, it's a little bit easier for guys to do it just because you see the knockouts and quite frankly, just the divisions are not quite as deep. But Gane, what's funny about him is that he really hasn't had the knockouts, especially over his last two fights. If anything, the fans have been a little bit, unappreciative of the type of style that he brings in because he's very calculated. He almost fights like a smaller guy in that big heavyweight division. He's quick, he's fluid, he has a lot of strategy, he's a high fight IQ. It has not endeared him to the fans just yet, but I will tell you what it has endeared him to, the bettors, because as you see, that line is crazy high, especially for a guy like you mentioned without that much experience in the UFC octagon.
Yeah, Brett, how would you kind of handicap or bet this fight? Because you see the lines there. Gane, an overwhelming favorite. Derrick Lewis, though, was an underdog recently against Curtis Blades, scored a second-round knockout against him at this weight, at this level, this size. It just takes one punch. How would you kind of bet this matchup between Gane and Lewis?
Derrick Lewis is a really tough guy to bet, guys, because I tell you, go back and watch this guy's fights. He can look terrible all the way up until the point he just knocks guys completely unconscious. I mean, that is just how he fights. He is funny about it afterwards. He says, I came in terrible shape. I'm fat. I gotta get back in the gym. He admits that after the fights, but he has cashed as a big underdog for that reason, because he looks overmatched, but then he comes out and he has the equalizer of a right hand. I think that this is a nightmare matchup for him on paper. Gane is very hard to hit. He'll have a speed advantage. He'll have that big octagon down there in Houston. So I believe if you're going to bet this, maybe you wait and see if the public really wants to bet on that dog. Derrick Lewis is a popular guy. Maybe if that line kind of starts to trickle down, you'll see some value on Gane. But right now, man, this is a tough fight to bet because I do think Gane should be a heavy favorite, but there's just no value on him. And when you're creeping up to -380 in a heavyweight fight when you got Derrick Lewis, who's always knocking guys out, I can't bet Gane at that price either.
If Gane wins, he believes the next logical fight is against the beast, that is Francis Ngannou. Do you agree with Gane's assessment there?
Oh, 100%. This is an interim title fight for the UFC. Now, some of the fan base, a lot of the fan base was not real happy about that. Francis Ngannou just won the belt 3 months ago, but the UFC wanted a title fight. They wanted to give Derrick Lewis an opportunity to fight for an interim championship in his hometown of Houston. But if Gane wins, they actually trained together. They're former teammates. They weren't super close, but they both came up a little bit in the MMA factory in Paris. And so you've got a history there, then you've got interim and undisputed championship there. You got a unifying title fight. The fact that they're both from France, that is 100% the next fight, I believe, if Gane wins and Francis wants to take that fight.
All right, Brett, let's talk another bout. We have a co-main event featuring Jose Aldo taking on Pedro Munhoz. Despite losing 6 of his last 10 UFC bouts, Aldo is a -135 favorite. Are you comfortable with that? Would you bet that? How are you looking at this fight?
I think that just shows that people aren't giving up quite yet on Jose. Vegas, the odds makers, they haven't given up on Jose. It's easy to look at a guy, he's older in his career, he's been around for a very long time, and when you look at his record and he's lost all those fights, you think to yourself, man, this might be an easy opportunity for me to make some money. But if you go back and really dive into those fights, they were all against the cream of the crop, man. I mean, he fought Max Holloway twice. He fought Alex Volkanovski, who was the current champion. He fought Petr Yan, who was the bantamweight champion up until he surrendered the title via disqualification. A lot of people still think of him as the best 135er in the world. So he is only losing to the very, very best 135ers in the world. Pedro Munhoz is a guy who's been in the top 10 forever, but he's not really eclipsed or gotten over the hump of us calling him the elite of the elite at 135 pounds. So I think you got to still take Jose, but if he loses to this type of opponent, you're going to see the market correct itself, and then he won't be just a -130 favorite against these guys. You're going to start seeing plus odds on Jose, quite frankly.
Brett Okamoto, he always brings the goods, joining Tyler and I here on Bet. Thank you, Brett. We always appreciate the time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.